What is humanity's default trajectory with technology? On some days, I think the default trajectory of our relationship with technology is about a 4. One of the questions that really sits heavy with me is, just because something can be done, should it be done? We are a curious and inventive species capable of a lot of good, but also of a lot of bad stuff. And sometimes the bad stuff is unintended, or is the accumulation of a lot of unreflective choices. I think if we become more intentional about the values we want technology to embody, then we have a better chance of shifting that default trajectory more towards a 10 in a good direction.
I think that the default trajectory of our relationship with technology is somewhere like a 6 or 7 out of 10. I feel like I'm somewhat optimistic despite some recent issues that have come up of both misuse of technology and unintended consequences of technology. I think there's hope from early career individuals getting out into the world of work and starting to bring their values into the world of technology and its creation. And we're learning from errors, right? Like there's been some problems. I think of the Boeing 737 MAX crashes. I think of the emissions scandal with Volkswagen. I think of that blood testing scandal with Theranos, which became a fascinating podcast that I remember listening to. And it started to popularize this default trajectory that we have with technology. And I think as people become more aware, they're more likely to intervene and do a better job with helping that default trajectory move in the right direction.
The default trajectory of our relationship with technology is a 5 for me at this moment. I guess it's all about perspective, because at first, when I first did this exercise at the beginning of 2020, I said it was a solid 9 because I was surrounded with the news of, the electric cars gaining popularity, and I thought yes, we are on a good path here. But then upon learning more about the effects of social media and how that knowledge of how it affects and interacts with the brain was actually hacked to make it that way, I have become a bit pessimistic, I guess. But I guess we just need to be a good judge on everything that we interact with.
So my feelings about the default trajectory of technology today probably range from a 2 to a 7 based on the technology we're talking about and the news of the day. We all have pretty complex relationships with technology, so it is pretty hard to put a single number on it. But overall, I would say I have a relatively pessimistic view right now, mostly because the underlying systems and structures, rates of change that we see make it hard to frame our relationship with technology as particularly healthy. It seems quite obviously unhealthy, and if we are to create new solutions out of those kinds of conditions and that kind of relationship, it's unlikely to sort of fundamentally change anything. And so I think that quote from E.O. Wilson that is getting circulated quite a bit these days is pretty on point. And so we are struggling with a trifecta of problems with Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. And so it's pretty easy, I think, to see that we're sort of a little bit out of control at present, given those challenges, but no cause for despair. It just means that the major challenge that we're facing these days is not only about the evolution of the technology itself, but our relationship with it.